Okay. Questions about oxytocin? Let me see if I can, play the unmute game again. Hi, Kim.
I'm so sorry. This is my son's having.
So let me ask you a question. You have a child who the parent comes to you and the parent says to you, my child is really manipulative, and they manipulate me to get what they want, and they do this on a conscious basis, and they do it consistently. Through explaining oxytocin, how can you explain that dynamic?
Trying to satisfy your need and afraid that they're not going to have their needs met.
She says explain it through oxytocin.
Say that again, Eric? Come on, guys, you can get this wrong and you can fumble through it. You know,
so I'm going to go for it.
Huh?
It's Anna. It's Anna. I'm going to go for it.
Go for it.
So, if the kid is under stress, if the mother's having a stress reaction and is walking around frustrated and anticipating that she's always going to be manipulated, so she's stressed out. So the kid is also in fear, and so there's no oxytocin getting created here, and the kid has this behavior that they have, you know. Clearly they're not feeling safe enough, and the oxytocin is not present. And so what needs to happen is the mother needs to catch opportunities, I think. The mother needs to catch opportunities of moving in and anticipating what might be needed and giving it to the child without waiting for the child to have to go into scarcity and manipulate to get what she needs.
Say more about that. Because you're right. The first part is that one, there's not an oxytocin producing relationship, so there's no place for the child to be able to attach to mom because mom is not bondable. And so the second part of the answer is about the manipulative factor. So explain a little bit more about why the child is manipulating.
The child's manipulated because she doesn't trust that if she just shows up and asks for what she needs, that mom will be there. And,
right.
And so she has to, you know, bend herself like a pretzel or whatever, and she's not trusting that her needs will be received or that it'll be okay with mom. And so mom has, I think, two things. I think mom has to, one, get in there and connect and bond with this kid when the kid's not looking for it. Like, there needs to be a constant state of mom creating opportunities for attachment and being there. And then when the kid manipulates, she needs to figure out how, like you did, she needs to keep breathing and keep her own oxytocin going in there. And, you know, kind of like you did with the kid when you said, you know, what usually happens is mothers and daughters work these things out. You know, there might be a way to address the manipulation in that way. Like, you know, like, in other words, she can give the kid what is needed but not necessarily respond to the manipulation. Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, that's just it, is that if I'm in survival and my brain is constantly producing cortisol, I got to do whatever I've got to do to survive. So manipulation is more about survival than it is about manipulation. You know, and I'm not consciously doing this. My brain has learned to produce more cortisol because I haven't had that safe environment that I can trust, and you said trust, and trust is the key factor in all of this, because oxytocin is that means, it does create that means of being able to trust. And so I have to trust that my needs are going to get met. And if I don't have the response necessary to do that, then yes, I have to manipulate to get what I need. It becomes about survival.
And what would you say?
So Helene,
Go ahead.
Oh, I was about to ask, Helene, is it really manipulation? If a child is striving to survive, they're not really, because when I think of manipulation, I think of somebody intentionally doing something to get their way. So the child is not really manipulating, are they?
They're surviving. They're surviving. And the reason I go with the manipulation, is because it's one of those questions that, consistently comes up in teaching them, is that, my child is intentionally trying to manipulate me. And so it appears as, and maybe what I should have said was that it appears as manipulation, but what it really is survival. So thank you, Harold.
Lee, what would you say then in terms of when the child is in the middle of manipulating? I mean, I think it's important to be proactive and bond with the kid when she's not looking for something. When she goes into that behavior because she's in stress, what would you say about how to respond to that?
What does she really need? That's beneath the behavior. It's about ignoring the behavior and not ignoring the child. So what does that child really need? Well, that child needs the safety of, you know what, you are going to get your needs met, and yeah, it's really scary that you can't have those shoes, and yes, you really want it. So what they need to feel is validated. They need to feel that they're safe. They need to, excuse me, they need to hear that, they need to, what I spend a lot of time with parents, and one of the things that we talk a lot about in the GBB is making these behaviors conscious, is, honey, you never feel like you're going to get what you need. It always feels like you have to do whatever you have to do in order to get, that cookie.
Mm-hmm.
I promise I'm going to take care of you, and we are going to be okay.
That's great. Thanks.
Other questions? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this PowerPoint. You're going to go through the completion of the, there's going to be an exam that's going to be at the end of the PowerPoint. Then you're going to take the PowerPoint that you received, and once you send me your exam, I'm going to send you the attendee handouts and the instructor piece for you to be able to teach off of. And I'm also going to send you a really powerful interview that Brian did with Susan Kachinkes as another thing for a reference point. You're going to delete PowerPoint slides 12 and 13 and replace it with the 4 that you receive in here. Those 4 that I went over are the ones that you're going to put into your presentation. The exam, your exam questions are this, and this is not a right or wrong. These are just to help you think, because eventually you're going to get questions like this and you need to be able to respond. So why is the understanding of how our brain produces oxytocin so important? How does it justify, explain, and or underscore everything that we teach? Using the understanding of oxytocin, having no history on a family, how would you answer a parent's question of, if I don't give my child consequences for their behaviors, how are they going to function in a world that has consequences? So what could you say to that using the oxytocin connection? questions about that?
When
Okay.
is it due, Helene?
Send it to me within like the next 2 weeks would be good, so that I'm not chasing people around.
Okay.
If any of you have thoughts on ways that I can better keep in touch, get in touch with you, please let me know. I know that everybody is running really hectic lives, and there was a lot of confusion with setting up these webinars. I hired an assistant, so she'll be just trying to give calls to people every now and again, you know, letting you know of updates or sending you out program email updates. The last call of the year that I would really like for everyone to be on is going to be November 29th. You need to come to that call with questions that you've gotten. Maybe questions that maybe you're pretty successful in answering it. Maybe it's a question that you get a lot. Maybe it's a question that you feel like you can answer better, or one that you cringe and pray that nobody asks you because you have a hard time answering it. So bring those questions with you to our phone call, because the idea behind it, or what I'm hoping to do, is be able to create resources so as people get these questions and as we answer it, that if you get the question and you're saying, you know, I don't know, I need to check on it, that you have a resource or a database of all these different questions that you can go to get answered. So bring some of those questions, or bring, you know, I'm working with a client and I'm stuck. That one's fine too. So bring those questions to call on November 29th. You know, I was thinking about the certification and the research, and I'm going to say that after 3 years of compliance that you are then a permanent great behavior breakdown certified instructor. Update on books and affiliate status. There is no longer an affiliate status for if you send somebody to a GBB event. I want you to know that. Only because the program does not have the funding, and while it's still associated with the Post Institute, it doesn't have the backing of the financial backing anymore. I did speak to David. I know that some people do have, but wait, let me go back to say that if you have your affiliate status with the Post Institute and you do keep your affiliate status, you keep your link, as you send people to the website for books and materials, you still get that. Oxytocin, we look at it pretty heavily. It's been highly, highly effective for a lot of people. It's not something that gets recommended for children, only because they don't really know. There hasn't been enough studies with children to really understand, you know, what the outcomes are, what the consequences are. For adults and parents that are stressed out, we will recommend that regularly. I cannot per se recommend it. What I can say is, you know, this is something that you may want to look at. I can suggest this, but I cannot recommend it because I'm not a medical doctor, so you want to cover yourself in that way. I mean, the results are bar none for parents. It just, I mean, even I put my husband on it. If we go out and we run errands and I say, honey, you know, can we run 2 more errands? It's, yeah, okay, fine, you know, and then I put him on oxytocin, we run errands, and he's like, sure, honey, no problem. So, I mean, for adults, it's a beautiful thing. As far as books go, when you go to the Post Institute website, if you order, David added to the list, if you want to order the Fear to Love books for people, they're usually $15. He put, if you order a quantity of 10, he drops it down to $10 for you. Same thing with the Great Behavior Breakdown book, 10 or more equals $10. The introductory class training workbook, any more than 2 brings you down to $10 a piece. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Fear to Love he brought down to $6 for you. So Fear to Love is now $6 if you order 10 or more, and you want to be able to give those out. GBB Wholesale